Liverpool are on the hunt for the next Casemiro. The injury to Thiago Alcantara in the first game of the season would probably be the last thing Liverpool would want. The Spaniard is not only an integral part of this Liverpool team, he also plays in an area where Jürgen Klopp already has no options. Due to Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain's injury and uncertainty over Curtis Jones' fitness, Liverpool are just a few players away from going into a true midfield crisis, and early in the season this is not an ideal situation. Something that could push Julian into the transfer market. As Liverpool continue to look out for Jude Bellingham, FSG will of course be reluctant to invest in another midfielder, but given the midfielder's aging profile, it might not be a bad idea to have another relatively young team player out there. One such player who could fit these criteria is Swiss international Fabian Rieder, who traded for Young Boys and already has experience playing Champions League football. Able to play as a wide midfielder and wing-back as well as a waiting, mid and attacking midfielder, Rieder is a versatile player Klopp loves to have on his team. At the age of 20, Rieder has already played 79 games for the Young Boys first team and has contributed 21 goals during that time. One of them came against Manchester United, and Rieder scored a decisive goal to secure a draw for the Young Boys in the Champions League group stages last season. Energetic and technically talented, Rieder has a profile suited to a team like Liverpool and is an affordable option too, with Transfermarkt valuing him at just £6.5 million. Its age means there is plenty of room for Liverpool to profit from their investments for a long time to come, making any potential transfer relatively risk-free. Despite Rieder's rapid promotion from the Swiss division to the Premier League based on his performance in the Champions League, he should already be more than ready for the move to a higher level, having already stood out against rivals like Manchester United. This is also evident in the interest shown in the midfielder, where teams like Real Madrid are reportedly looking at the 20-year-old. According to reports, Real Madrid are interested in Rieder and see him as a potential long-term substitute for Casemiro. Having lost a midfield goal against Real Madrid at Aurelien Tchouameni this summer, Liverpool should try to catch up with another and miss the Real Madrid deal themselves this time, instead of losing to their latest Champions League rivals. Rieder is definitely someone to watch. He's the kind of smart investment that Liverpool is famous for, and he's definitely someone who will not only be a stopping point, but a potential long-term player at Anfield. Bayern Munich transfer inquiry should alarm Liverpool over £71 million Chelsea deal possible. Roberto Firmino is still at Liverpool, but the prevailing view is that his replacement will be joining at the end of this season. Darwin Nunez is a very different striker, but his potentially record-breaking transfer seems to signal a new direction for Jürgen Klopp. Until recently, Firmino's succession plan was shrouded in mystery. Diogo Jota acted as a midfielder for Liverpool, playing more like the orthodox number 9 but with a voracious appetite to match his veteran colleague. Before moving to Bayern Munich in the second half of last season, Sadio Mane was given the role, offering a more fluid three-pointer. But Nunez seems to point to the future with a development parallel to Erling Haaland's arrival at Manchester City. The traditional number 9 is back in vogue, and the need to find a similar Firmino successor seems to have diminished. This is good in many ways because the Brazilian is still almost a unique player in world football. Absolutely no one offered the same skills that he brought to the team. But losing Firmino would only make Liverpool worse. This process has already been observed as he gradually rejects the untouchable as best he can. It still offers something valuable, but Klopp's team has lost something of the telepathic attack connection that has undoubtedly defined an era. So even with Nunez at the door, a vague striker in the Firmino mold would likely be a useful addition to the squad next summer. With Mane currently at Bayern Munich, his offensive stock is not overfilled, especially if this is the Brazilian's last year at Anfield. And Liverpool could potentially look to Bayern for a decent transfer solution. Before landing at Mane, the Bavarians made some tentative inquiries into Chelsea. If Klopp followed them, he could find one of the closest things possible to Firmino. Kai Havertz hasn't had an easy start to life at Chelsea since his £71 million move. As a young player with a vague role, he escaped the scrutiny of Romelu Lukaku and Timo Werner, but his goal record was similarly overwhelming. Despite being 1 out of 9 Champions League final winners, he didn't reach double digits in his first season. It was only a small jump last season, with 8 Premier League goals added with 6 more in other competitions. According to reports, Tuchel cancelled early when Bayern Munich arrived this summer, but Chelsea don't seem to have unwavering faith in Havertz. During this transfer window, they were linked to a number of strikers, including 37-year-old Cristiano Ronaldo, and they signed Raheem Sterling to strengthen the front line. Even with Lukaku and Werner gone, there's no guarantee that the German forward will no longer be the undisputed focus. Havertz could be reasonably available, especially if Tuchel can't continue the season at Chelsea. Todd Boehly certainly seems open to doing business in the league, and Bayern Munich probably wouldn't even investigate without some sort of incentive along the pipeline. And although the goal record leaves much to be desired, there is definitely something from Firmino. He's an enthusiastic and effective pusher, and ranks 97% of forwards when it comes to pass completion, and is a highly technical player. He's also adept at advancing the ball, something not automatically associated with the number 9. Chelsea made sure to shoot a high amount of shots that didn't match their strengths. Havertz underperformed their expected targets and didn't reveal much with definite opportunities for their teammates. But his high pass volume, both accurate and penetrating, provides an encouraging sign that he will do much better at Liverpool. The real question was how he would get along with Nunez. But Klopp has had an effective season trying to figure this out by experimenting with Firmino himself. There is some promise of a two-man system where the pair's less orthodox forwards become the de facto number 10. Klopp may decide that Liverpool has finally moved beyond Firmino and that the unique role they have played in the club's history cannot be repeated. But if the boss realizes that he still misses the Brazilian at the top, talks with Chelsea can begin. Because Havertz has the skills to be heir to the throne. Liverpool still have transfer slack as confirmed £46 million deals could enable Jürgen Klopp U-turn. As Liverpool looked ready for a quiet summer, Jürgen Klopp ran into a problem. At another time of the season, increasing injury problems in the midfield could have been met with a smile and hold-on attitude. But with the transfer window still open, calls for adding an extra body inevitably intensified. Predictably, Klopp doesn't want to add someone who will be just a body, an entity to inflate the numbers, and nothing more. He and FSG share a long-term vision for Liverpool and have repeatedly reiterated their transfer criteria. Any move must make sense in the long run. The prevailing view is that if the right player was present, it would have already been signed. Even so, with the best part of 3 weeks before the transfer window closes, the pressure will only increase. Klopp is also not completely shy about signing the emergency. Ben Davies and Ozan Kabak attended the deadline in January last year, when the defense crisis was at its height. Another setback in midfield could push Liverpool into reluctant action. Unlike in the recent past, Klopp has the luxury of making a U-turn without significant difficulty. His team went through quite a remodeling during the transfer window, which gave him more room to move. Liverpool have confirmed 3 major departures this summer. Sadio Mane, Takumi Minamino and Divock Origi have left the club, with the former couple bringing in £46 million between them. This not only supported the transfer cat and eased the pressure on the wage bill, but also made room for non-native staff. As early as January, Liverpool were just across the border in this regard. They were the only Premier League team to use all 17 slots of their own non-local squad and even had to leave a veteran indifferent in the second half of the season to house Luis Diaz. Admittedly, that actress was Loris Karius, but it shows how well Klopp cut her. Karius has since left the club permanently, but 3 big-name departures are key to Klopp's newly discovered breathing room. Summer signings, neither Fabio Carvalho nor Calvin Ramsey are old enough to require registration, and they will both still qualify as locals when they turn 21. Only Darwin Nunez has taken a spot, so Liverpool can add 2 more players without restriction. Again, Klopp will not make new signings just because he can. The conditions must be right. He didn't really like working with so many top players last season and talked about the need to keep Ferrari in the garage many times. Still, it's good to have options if the crisis deepens or things change in the market. If Klopp suddenly feels compelled to make a transfer before the window closes, he knows that Liverpool have both the resources and the squad space to make it happen. A U-turn is unlikely, but FSG is at least ready to act at the drop of a hat.